Alright, so we're back here, and this time we're gonna go over all the green cards in the set. So let's just get right into it. So I'm gonna just start off with the special card. So this is the OP01 Law, pretty solid card in a lot of green builds. It's a 5 cost 6k power blocker, and on play you get to return one of your characters to your hand and play another character with the cost of 3 or less. So it's I love that ability, especially because it's law, because it really mimics his devil fruit, like room shambles, like great. But yeah, it's a great looking card. I think personally this one and Boa is probably like my favorite of the special cards that I'm probably going to be trying to chase. But yeah, so getting into the leaders, so we will do a more in-depth video on the leaders later, but we have Doflamingo, which is at the end of your turn, you set 2 Dawn active, so it's pretty strong to counter. It gives you a little bit of defense. It's a dual colored leader, 4 life, 5000 power. And then this is the alt art for that. Like it looks like the OP04 alt arts of the leaders just looks so good. Like you have all the characters like in the background, like you see the whole Doflamingo background, and he's just chilling at the front, like the king. Like, oh man, like it's great. Like all of them look so good. Then you have Isho. So Dawn times 1, your turn, give all your opponent's characters -1 cost, and end of your turn you may rest 1 Dawn and set up to one of your characters with the cost of 5 or less as active. So it's pretty good to like save some of your characters, and you're only doing it for the cost of 1 Dawn. So it seems pretty decently strong. I don't think it did too well in the Japanese meta, but you never know because English is different. This is the alternate art here. I hate Akainu, so I'm not the biggest fan of this in the back, but Isho looks badass over here. And like look at this over here, like it's you got that like green pattern on the logo there. I wonder if does Dofi have that? Yeah, he's got that green too, and he's got a bit of purple. Like that just looks so nice. Anyways, getting into the cards. So Viola. So Viola is a 2k blocker, so it's probably going to be pretty standard in a lot of decks. 3 cost 3k power. On your opponent's attack, you can rest 2 Dawn and rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. So when it's your opponent's turn, you can use your 2 Dawn and rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. So it'll slow down their attack a little bit. I guess this would work in the sense that like I'm a little honestly not too sure, because I don't know if you no, this would be on your opponent's side. Yeah. So okay, so Viola, 3 costs 3000 power plus 2k counter. On your opponent's turn, you may rest 2 Dawn, so you'll already have 2 Dawn up because of Doflamingo's ability if you're using this in the Doflamingo deck. And you can rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards, so it's just going to slow down their attack a little bit. So is it the greatest effect? I wouldn't think so, but it's still a 2k counter, so it could definitely be a standard in some decks. And moving on, we get Eric. Eric is an East Blue type character. 1 cost 2k power with plus 1000 counter. Activate main, you may rest this character and rest up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 1 or less. So you're just resting one of their, maybe like a searcher or something, and then you can attack into it. I don't think it'll see that much play, but there you go. And you got Kuro, which is a 6 cost vanilla. So this is I believe this is the first vanilla in the green deck that has 6 cost 8k power. It's kind of like the Parasparrow and the Dodge in red. But this is the first one for green, I'm pretty sure. So people might be putting these in their decks because an 8k power is quite tough to fight against. Then you got Sugar. Sugar is a super rare and is one of the best cards to come out of this set for green. So it's 2 cost, 0 power, but the effect is on your opponent's turn, once per turn, when your opponent plays a character, if your leader's Don Quixote Pirate, so Doflamingo, rest up to one of your opponent's characters, then rest this character. So if you're playing against red or something and they put down like a rush ace, you can just activate Sugar's effect and just rest the ace so he can't even attack. And then on your turn, you're able to attack into that. So it's pretty, like, this is like really strong, and it has an on play where you rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. This is going to be a 4 of in every deck for sure. Really strong, and the alternate art looks great as well. This is from when Usopp scares her and knocks her out, and this is just hilarious, and I'm really glad that they used this as the alternate art. I actually pulled this card in when I was opening one of the Japanese boxes, and the artwork just looks fantastic. It's just really great. Like, all the art in this set is so good. Then you have Giola, so 4 cost, 4,000 power, plus 1k counter. The effect is on your opponent's attack, you rest 2, and then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So it can be useful if your opponent attacks you and you want to activate this effect. You can use your 2 Dawn and then rest up to one of their characters with a cost of 4 or less to prevent them from attacking with that character as well. So you could throw off your opponent's whole like offensive game there. So not bad. Then you got Senior Pink, 3 cost, 5k, and his effect, when attacking, you rest to Dawn. If your leader has Don Quixote Pirates, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Then set up to one of your Dawn cards that's active at the end of this turn. So you're using 1 Dawn, like when you're attacking, to activate this effect, but then you can just put it back up to active at the end. So it becomes a defensive Dawn, and then you'll end up with 3 Dawn on defense. So not bad there, and it's 3 for 5, so can't really complain. Then you got Daddy Masterson, East Blue, former Navy, 4 cost, 5,000. This is the guy that was like dueling with Usopp. Dawn times 1, end of your turn, set the character as active. So you attack with it, you can put him back as active, help him stay alive a little longer. Diamante. Diamante is a rare, but he also gets an alternate art. You can see that right here. It looks really nice. It's a 5 cost 6k blocker, so it's kind of like the law in that regard. And Dawn times 1, at the end of your turn, if you have 2 or more active Dawn, you can set this character back to active. So really interesting card. The artwork is great. And then Dellinger, 3 cost 4k, Don Quixote Pirates. End of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. So still going along with that theme there. So not bad. Not a bad effect. Gives you a little bit more defense. And then you got Treble. Treble also gets an alternate art. So it like this, the images on the screen don't really do it justice, but the hollow patterns on these cards are just phenomenal. When I open up some boxes, hopefully we can get some good videos to show you guys. But it looks great in this set. So 6 cost 6k power. On play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. And on your opponent's attack, you rest 2 Dawn and rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So it's like just this here though, like KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. Like, it's a really strong ability. 5 or less, like, you're not, like, typically, like, that could be a 7,000 power character, 6,000, 5,000, like, that's pretty strong. I'd imagine this would see at least a few in every deck. It doesn't have a counter, so maybe not a 4 of, but... And then we got Doflamingo. So this this right here is the best card in the Doflamingo deck. And it if you are playing and you get back-to-back Doflamingos, it will just screw your opponent. Like, they will be pretty much screwed because 10 cost, 10k power, so it's going to use up all your Dawn, but you do get to set 2 back up as active for defense. But you use up all your Dawn, and when you play this character, 3 of your opponent's rested leader and character cards will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. That is huge. So your opponent, if they attack with, let's say you're playing against red, they attack with like Whitebeard as their leader, and then they attack with like another, like maybe like a Rush Ace and like a Marco or something. You put down Doflamingo, you lock those 3 cards, then they only have 2 cards that they could possibly attack with. They can't even attack with their leader. And because you're using up all your Dawn, like your attack phase when you play this card will probably be a little weak, but then on your next turn, you'll be able to attack with him, and you wouldn't have taken too much damage in the previous turn. So this is just phenomenal. Like, it's just great. 10 cost, 10k power. The alternate art looks great as well. And then Baby 5. So Baby 5 also, oh, she doesn't. I forgot. Yeah, that's OP05. But Baby 5, 2k counter, uncommon card. End of your turn, you may trash this character. Set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. So 2k counter, might see 4 of in a deck. Not bad. And then Knockbite on play. If your leader has a Doflamingo, Quixote Pirates type, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Then set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active at the end of this turn. So pretty decent. It's going along with the theme of all the cards. And then you got Lao Ji, 4 cost, 5k. End of your turn, if you have 3 or more active Dawn cards, KO up to 1 of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. So pretty decently strong as well. You may see some of this one. The art, like, this is just a regular card and there's no alt, but even this artwork, this looks great. Like, they really stepped it up in OP04. Then you got the event cards. So the event cards are going to be quite interesting because Doflamingo especially uses two Dawn cards back to active at the end of your turn. So you can use those 2 Dawn to counter out of stuff. So this is the first one. It's a 2 cost counter. It basically just buffs your leader or character plus 4k, and then you set up to 1 of your characters as active. So your opponent, let's say, attacks into life, you counter, give yourself a plus 4k. So your opponent attacks into life, you give yourself 4k buff, like save yourself, and then you can set up to 1 of your characters as active as well and save that character. So pretty strong effect. Don Quixote family, this is a searcher. It has a trigger to activate this card's effect, very similar to like Whitebeard Pirates, and then the Straw Hats also have one. But yeah, counter, look at 5 cards on the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Don Quixote Pirate type and add it to your hand. Flapping Red. This is a counter as well for 2 cost. Give up to 1 of your leaders or characters plus 2000 power during the turn. So that's pretty strong. Like, if you bump your leader 2k for the whole turn, it's going to be hard for your opponent to try and go for life there. And then trigger KO up to 1 of your opponent's rested characters with the cost of 4 or less. So like, that's a strong ability as well. And then this one right here, 5 cost, main, counter, rest up to 1 of your opponent's leader or character cards, then KO up to 1 of your opponent's rested character cards with the cost of 6 or less. So just imagine that, like, your opponent attacks with a 6 cost character, let's say 6 cost for 8. You can counter, you can counter out of that, and then hold on. So imagine, like, your opponent attacks you with a 6k and it becomes rested right during the attack. Um, you may not be able to save a life, but what you can do is you rest up to one of your opponent's leaders. So you rest your leader, and then you can KO that character that just like attacked you. That's 6k or less. And then I guess that would, you actually wouldn't. Okay, let's try this again. So 5 cost, activate main or its counter, rest up to one of your opponent's leaders or character cards, then KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with cost of 6 or less. So that's crazy. Like, you can just rest your opponent's leader and you can KO a character with a cost of 6 or less. Like, very strong. The trigger is insane. Like, set up to 5 of your Dawn cards as active. Like, if you're in the final stages of the game and you take a life card during like the first attack and you pull this, that'll be nuts. Like, you can just set yourself up completely for defense and your opponent will just not be able to do much during that turn. And then you got the secret rare. The second secret rare of this set is Corazon. Everybody loves Corazon. He's got a fantastic alternate art as well. This guy's the GOAT. 8 cost, 8,000 power. Opponent's turn, if this character is rested, your active characters with a base cost of 5 cannot be KO'd by effects. On play, you may rest this character, play up to 1 green character card with a cost of 5 from your hand. So, like, especially that second effect goes really well with Law. Like, that 5 cost Law we were talking about, like just over here. Like, you rest the Corazon, and then you can just play this Law down. Like, it really works with that effect. So really interesting card. There's a lot of great green cards in this set, so we'll see what happens. I know a lot of people playing Doflamingo. I'm probably gonna play Doflamingo for a bit as well, but a lot of people playing Doflamingo are using the film package with all the green film cards and the purple starter deck, way back from OP04. That's been doing well, so I don't know, I might try both packages, but I think the film package is pretty tough to beat, so we'll probably give that a go. But yeah, that's wraps up the black cards there. Sorry, the green cards.